my husband and I, we talk a lot about all sorts of stuff. We're deeply curious about all elements of everything. And we've sort of just got to a place where we're accepting that this is just a phase that he's going through, and we don't need to fix him and we don't need to fix us. This is just something that we're going through. And I think often we are so quick, and it's usually due to comparison, like, oh, my friend's kids are sleeping, or if you put this into the context of work, achievement, whatever else people are using as markers to work out if they think they're okay, is because we're looking to everybody else rather than, do I need fixing, or can I just be okay in all of this chaos that we're living through?
I think so. And I think that for me, that's a really powerful definition of happiness, is to be okay with not being okay. Happiness isn't all about feeling great and having a good time. It's also about being able to just accept the darkness and the difficulty and the struggle and all the painful stuff, not to throw that away or hate that or reject that, but just to relax into it. And I think that's a kind of compassion, isn't it? I think compassion, I think love, I think real love is where you can love whatever is happening right now in this moment, even the difficult stuff, and just to relax into that and to be with that without pushing it away, to make friends with your experience, whatever that experience is.
Yeah, well, I think, certainly if you've been through any tough moment in life, that how you react to it really won't change what's going on. I mean, if in a negative sense, if you're sort of constantly pushing against it, trying to suppress it, fighting against it, that won't change the experience. Whereas if you choose to lean into it, and this is something I've only been doing very, very recently. I had much tougher times, say, a decade ago, and I was just trying to suppress all of it. And you realize it actually then just stretches the time out that you're dealing with all of those thoughts. So I think, maybe that is exactly where the freedom lies, is in sort of the acceptance and the leaning into difficult times, rather than making it harder for yourself, basically, by sort of trying to squash everything down and minimize it and get rid of it.
Yeah, I agree. And in my own experience, that's definitely true. About 10 years ago, I was doing a very, very long retreat. It finished in 2010. It was a 4-year long retreat. I described this in the book. The book starts by describing how it felt to come out of that retreat and come back to London. So in that retreat of 4 years where you're completely enclosed in a retreat house, you're on a remote Scottish island, there's no contact with the outside world. It was a very terrifying experience, especially at first, because there I am stuck with my own mind for all that time. And there were times when I couldn't even meditate. I was just so traumatized by the misery I found within myself. I went through extremely severe depression for the first part of that retreat. And what changed it for me was when I learned to do exactly what you were just describing, which is to stop hating myself for being depressed and to stop hating the depression, but to almost imagine the depression is a friend who's struggling. And what would you do for that friend? You would sit with them and you would accept them how they are. You would just hold them and be there with them. So I learned how to do that for myself. I learned how to find the feelings within myself physically. I mean, I could feel the depression as a kind of sinking feeling in my heart, or like a sort of coldness inside. Just to feel that and love that and give that a huge amount of compassion. And it started to change because I wasn't resisting and pushing and hating. It's like leaning in. You lean into it, and if you join together with the thing that hurts you, then it's not hurting you anymore, because you and it are one. There isn't this is hurting me. There's just an experience of peace and oneness.
I love that. And strangely, I talked to Rhonda Byrne on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and she described such a similar experience. And it's definitely something I wish I'd known about 10 years ago. And I'm really fascinated with this retreat experience. And I loved reading about it in your book, because, again, the modern world promotes this sort of velocity that we're meant to keep up with. And with that, hand in hand comes the notion that if you're not enjoying something or something's not working for you, that you ditch it, you get out, you move on, you find something new, a new chapter. Whereas, you know, you stuck this out. You found the peace in it by sticking with it for the full 4 years. And patience isn't something that we particularly crave, but it's such a beautiful quality to really understand and have. What was it within you that made you realize I can't give up, even though I'm feeling this darkness and I'm struggling and I don't think I should be struggling? What really kept you in that space and kept you so you could get to that point, that switch point for you?
Yeah, to be honest, I very nearly did leave the retreat halfway through. I thought, I can't take this anymore. It's torture. But what kept me from leaving was knowing that I had to resolve this somehow, because it's the thing that had been tormenting me for years and years and years. I mean, it's why I became a monk in the first place. You know, I became a monk in my early 20s because of severe burnout, severe depression, panic attacks, anxiety. And then I became a monk, and I think I probably suppressed all of it because I really got into being a monk and learning meditation and this kind of new lifestyle. And then I started to teach meditation and be quite out there in the public, and maybe you kind of adopt a bit of a persona and you're not really looking at yourself. So then, you know, 12 years into being a monk, I went into this long retreat and it came up full force, all the stuff I'd been hiding from, that voice in my head that kept telling me I was no good, the sort of negative self-talk. And so I think what kept me going was I thought, well, if you don't deal with this now, you're just going to be going round in circles. And you've got the tools. You're in a Buddhist retreat center, for goodness sake, you know, you've got all the tools with you. It's like you've got the medicine on the table. Are you going to take it or not? And I just knew that I mean, I'd studied a lot about Buddhist philosophy, so I knew what the teachings tell you, which is that acceptance and compassion are the only way forward. And so I thought, okay, I've got to apply this. And somehow I found a way. Maybe you hit rock bottom and then that's the only way is to come up. So somehow I found a way to feel what I was feeling with a sense of compassion, to give that part of myself acceptance, love, and compassion. And the whole experience changed, because up until that point, it felt like I was inside some kind of torture chamber, being kind of tormented all the time by my own thoughts. And when I learned to lean into that and relax into that, it became like an experience, almost like being wrapped in a warm duvet. You know, it became like a pleasant experience of self-acceptance. And it made me have much more of a gentle attitude towards my own mind. And so now, of course, I still get upset and stressed and all that stuff, but I'm much more gentle with myself. I just accept how I feel, and it kind of passes after a while.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Because, you know, that just perfectly illustrates how we can have a really decent relationship with our thoughts and emotions. And I think we're so quick in the modern world, and this is probably all due to advertising and social media and the lacking that we believe we might have, or the fixing that we think we need, is that as soon as we feel anything other than good, we lump on self-loathing into the mix, which just, that's the bit that I feel traps us all, is the sort of self-loathing bit. And I was so interested in the book how you sort of teamed thinking in a spiritual or an expansive way with essentially science, because you talk about neuroplasticity and how we all have the capability to change our thought processes and change these neural pathways. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because I don't want to sit here and be like, we need to sell meditation to the masses, because people will do it or not. You know, it's any, you know, people will find it or you know, we don't need to do that. But I think there are so many benefits and so many ways that we can really promote and talk about this subject matter with, you know, not only that sort of beautiful expansive thinking in mind, but also scientifically what's happening in our brains.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the scientific research that's gone into mindfulness and meditation has definitely made it more acceptable for people. And that's great. It's great that you can you can put somebody in a scanner and show that meditation has positively affected their brain. And then you can look at the readout, you can look at the diagram, and you can show, yeah, they have a healthier brain. Just like if you take your body to a gym, you'll see muscle after a while. The same with the mind. So I think that's really great. But and then also you touched upon neuroplasticity. So even if you're not looking at scans and results and evidence and research, just the concept that we are changeable, we can develop, we can train. Just knowing that is really, really a breakthrough, because actually we're doing it all the time. All the time throughout the day, we are manipulating our own neuroplasticity, usually in a way that isn't that helpful, in that we get into sort of old habits again and again, and they just become stronger and stronger. It's almost like we're training ourselves to be stressed. We're training, we're training in self-loathing.
Yeah, we are though, aren't we?
But why the fact we can train in those things mean we can also train in things that help us. So we could train in peace, love, kindness, compassion, calm. We can train in all those things too. It's just where you put your training. So knowing that makes you want to meditate, because then you see that, okay, I can develop myself into a calm, positive person. And when I say calm, I don't mean like sort of tranquilized and zoned out like a zombie. I mean literally to be at peace with yourself and at peace with the world, and to be happy. And that's a trainable skill. And I think it's something that people are more and more inspired to do.